Who is Matthew Phillips? Find out on Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayers. Thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Kyle Carr. I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan. I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But we here on Locked On Ducks are always talking about the Anaheim Ducks and the question of the day. This has been all over basically since last night when this guy got 2 goals in the preseason game against the Utah Mammoth. But who is Matthew Phillips? That is the question. And he completely showed up kind of out of nowhere in regards to Anaheim, and anyone paying attention to hockey players out here, this person would completely be under the radar because I don't think he's ever really played against the Ducks or even against the San Diego Gulls. So Matthew Phillips, he is a 5'8", 160-pound right shot right winger. He's a tenacious firecracker out there, represents the Short Kings extremely well. Gotta love someone down here in the 5'8" section of the world. I won't get into how tall I am, but I like that he's a short king. And, you know, we got to talk about Matthew Phillips and kind of just who this guy is, because he's one of the most fascinating players at Ducks training camp right now. And he's only a camp invite. So there's real opportunity for him to land a job, at least with the San Diego Gulls, and potentially being a floater for the Ducks as a forward, especially with Jansen Harkins now being injured after the game against LA. He could be a great guy to have as kind of a bubble player coming into certain game type situations, and he clearly knows how to find the back of the net. And the thing about Phillips is he's not just undersized, but man, he plays a smart, skilled game that makes him really stand out. He's the kind of player who thrives on hockey IQ and playmaking vision. Like, he sees the ice so well. He's got great hands, and he's just so patient with the puck out there. He's not going to blow you away with like pure straight line speed or anything like that, but he's quick and shifty in tight situations, and he's tough to pin down in those tight spaces. So that's kind of what allows him to create offense. He can slip into those soft areas in coverage, find passing lanes that most guys don't even see, and then he sets up his line mates for quality chances as well. So he's not really a shoot first type guy, but you're not counting on him to lead the team in goals or anything like that. But around the net, he can be sneaky good because of how quick and creative he is, and kind of just how he disappears in the coverage and sneaks into certain lanes. He's also very responsible in his own end, so plays really good defense. The team can really trust him positionally, and with the type of system that Quinville that is introducing, that's all about being smart and responsible positionally, that could be a good asset for Anaheim. Though he can be outmuscled along the boards just because of his size, so that is a little bit of the downfall. But bottom line, when they put Phillips in with line mates who can finish, he can be a real spark plug for their middle six and even boost their power play. So I see a lot of potential for Phillips kind of being this bubble guy to help the Anaheim Ducks and the San Diego Gulls this year. He can be a real spark plug for the power play. He's a perfect example of a player who lets his skill and his hockey sense really do the talking. Even when the size disadvantage is obvious, he's still going to make plays happen, and he's not afraid to back down from anyone. So in regards to Phillips in his career within the NHL, he does have a pretty limited NHL career. He's only played 34 games in the NHL. He's got 1 goal, 4 assists. That's 5 points total, and 2 penalty minutes. So that's it in the NHL club. But to look at kind of where Phillips got his start and where things have flourished for him, he played for the Victoria Royals in the WHL from 2014 to 2018. So out there in the West Coast League, getting some reps in juniors. And then he was eventually drafted by the Calgary Flames, 166th overall in the 2016 entry draft, which is the 6th round of the entry level draft. So that is how he entered the NHL realm. He played 1 game with the Stockton Heat during the 2016-2017 season, and then he ended up playing his first full season in the AHL in 2018 and 2019. And I'll get more into his career after the break and just kind of what the numbers look like for a player like Matthew Phillips down in the AHL. But this is a guy that's been kind of a seasoned AHL veteran. He's not quite a journeyman, as he's only spent time with a couple of clubs down there through affiliates of the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Calgary Flames. And now he's on this tryout with the Anaheim Ducks. So a good workhorse. He's clearly got a lot of talent and skill, and someone that has flourished so far under the new Joel Quinville system. Had really good offense last night against the Utah Mammoth, and would like to see more of what his preseason here is going to look like in Anaheim. I would love to see this guy offered a contract if he keeps up this level of play. And looking at the style that he has and his vision, his IQ, and his ability to just kind of find himself in the right spot is going to be a major asset for Anaheim, and could be a guy that bumps some guys down to the AHL that we thought were going to be kind of getting some reps up here. He could be a guy taking a spot this year with that emphasis that he brings. But that size, I just don't know how well he can maintain the level of intensity, the physicality. What's that going to look like on the wear and tear eventually for him? And in every game, every night, going in multiple games a week, what that wear and tear for him might be with that smaller size could be a little bit quicker, a little bit more extreme, especially with some of these massive guys that are in the NHL right now, and everyone kind of trying to do this copycat, imitate Florida style of play. That could put him into kind of a risky area, but also I don't think he cares. He seems like he's someone who's not afraid to back down and will take on the tallest guy, kind of like a Nathan Gerby style of player out there. So look to see this guy possibly crack in the Ducks and at least getting a Gulls offer. I think he would be a phenomenal player to have in this organization, and can bring a good safety net kind of for the Ducks to have someone that they can throw in that's going to be a spark plug, get a couple of points, get the boys buzzing. If they maybe need some assistance on the power play or penalty kill, whatever it is that he can go out there and be an assistant of, and just kind of bring some extra juice and maybe some sneaky points, bring him up. I'm all here for it. And as a short king myself, I gotta really push for the short kings to really make their impact more out here and more in the NHL. So looking forward to seeing what goes on with him. But I'll get more into kind of what his career looked like across the AHL and just kind of why he is getting a PTO out here in Anaheim beyond just the player style that he has. He does have some pretty good success in the AHL. So we'll get into that coming up after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. With how the NFL has been unfolding so far, there are so many great ways to get engaged with FanDuel, and it makes every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday that much better. And now you've got hockey coming back, so there's going to be even more out there for you to do with FanDuel. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So now looking at Phillips's career across the AHL, he has played in 339 AHL games. He has 124 goals with 176 assists and 300 points even in the regular season. In the AHL playoffs, he's played 39 games. He's had 5 goals, 18 assists, and 23 points total. So just under a point per game in the AHL. So not a bad showing for him, especially of late. I feel like his career's kind of been slow to take off, but he's really been setting himself up as a staple the further he's gotten into his career. He played with the Stockholm Heat from 2018 to 2022, and then the team relocated from Stockton, California to Calgary, Alberta, and they became the Calgary Wranglers. So he had a season with them. And then he signed with the Washington Capitals in 2023 and then played for the Hershey Bears. That is their AHL affiliate. So then in February 2024, this was a crazy sequence right here. So February 2024, he was claimed off waivers by the Pittsburgh Penguins from Washington. Then in March 2024, yes, that's right, a month later, he was claimed off of waivers by Washington from the Pittsburgh Penguins. So he goes, claimed off waivers from Washington Capitals to the Penguins, plays a couple games with Pittsburgh in that month, and then comes back to Washington, back from Pittsburgh after he played pretty well with Pittsburgh. Then he signed by Colorado in August of 2024. So a little pinball wizard that year, bouncing around. And then last season, he did extremely well for the Colorado Eagles. He played 65 games played. He got 18 goals and really took off in the assist column with 39 assists, a total of 57 points. So just shy of 10 points, needing to be a point a game pace, but that is pretty good. You truncate that over 82 games, you're looking at about 65, 70 points at that point if you were to extend that to 82 games. So not a bad showing by Matthew Phillips last year. I really think he's creating a name for himself and just getting more adjusted to the battle of professional hockey. And everyone always talks about the players that have gone through the woes of the AHL, talk about it's not an easy league to play in, and his success and playing over 300 games there and really creating offense still with his size and the points last year, 57 points in 65 games. He's continuing to show up, and the Ducks can really use someone who's, a little physical, shorty guy that can go in there and make a difference. That'll be a great asset for Anaheim. And 9 playoff games that he played last year with the Eagles, he had 8 points with 1 goal and 7 assists. So a point shy from having a point per game in the playoffs. Also, a great showing. When you have 8 points, 9 games, the playoffs are also a different beast down in the AHL. So he knows how to clearly show up and has a wonderful showing in the AHL. I don't see him getting a lot of play time if he does get in the an offer from Anaheim and ends up more being down with San Diego. but I think it gives the Ducks a really good option to have someone who can come up and make a difference and get some offense going, and they can rely on him, and he's not going to be a major uh, liability out there when it comes to him being out there. So brings an extra little spark, brings some reliability, brings some offensive creativity, and fitting into a new system that requires you to be responsible and is all about positioning and just being in the right places so you make these muscle memory type moves to each other. It seems like Matthew Phillips is going to be a guy that will fit really well into that. So I hope the Ducks extend him a contract. Obviously, there's going to be the the rest of the preseason. We'll see how things go. How does he keep showing up in training camp? Does he show up every single game during the preseason that he is a participant in? And can he show that he's going to be at least able to hold his own against some more NHL caliber type players? Um, that's really what my idea of Matthew Phillips's path is going to be. And I look at his game last night and how he's been performing at training camp, and I look at what he's brought to the AHL, and then I look at what he's going to have to do the rest of this training camp, and if he does perform at the level he did on Monday, we're looking at someone who's going to get offered a contract. He's going to be playing for the San Diego Gulls more than the Ducks, but he is going to be seeing some NHL minutes with this Jansen Harkins injury, and now kind of another question mark on the winger side of things with this forward group. And Mason McTavish still not being signed, which I will get into more in the next segment, kind of just going over some Ducks news. But the door's open, and it seems like Phillips is a guy that's going to come in and he's willing to do the work and is hungry enough to take that opportunity and really seize it. And I like to have him here. I would love to have him be part of this organization. I think that when you have someone with that type of character that is undersized but still knows how to show up and is willing to go put it out there every single game, that builds a bond even in the team, and I feel like that brings us another level of energy to the other guys when you see a guy that is working his butt off, who's a smaller guy than you, and he's getting points and he's battling in the corners. That kind of just sparks something in people that are bigger. You know, I've noticed it myself from being shorter. Whenever I'm out there and just kind of putting the bag in, I've noticed people that just assume I'm not going to be out there working as hard because of my size, that it like sparks this kind of push in them, and they if they're on my side, they work a little harder, or if they're against me, they try to work a little harder as well. So he's gonna bring energy to this team. He's gonna get the guys buzzing. He's gonna be kind of a staple in that locker room. And I know he's kind of newer to the club, but he's got experience in the AHL. He's a veteran there, and he knows how to work a locker room. And I think he'll be a great voice for this team and really just setting an example for these younger guys that are kind of undersized, like Olin Zellweger out there, and um, oh my gosh, I just drew a blank on his name. But there's some guys that are a little bit on the smaller side of things in Anaheim, and he can set that tone and really show them like, hey, this is what it takes to show up for an entire season of the AHL, or an entire season. Coming up here doesn't have the most NHL games played, but he's still an important voice. And I think this could be the door in to really like have his career resurge as an NHLer. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And I just, I'm a positive guy and I like to support the Short Kings, and we'll see how the rest of camp goes. But I think Matthew Phillips could be a name that could be synonymous with either Gulls hockey or possibly even Ducks hockey, but I think he's going to make a difference out here in Southern California. But we got to get to some Ducks news, and we'll get right to that right after this. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or what they're even worth, whether it's a 401k, properties, or investment. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all in one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet, no longer bouncing through Microsoft Excel or looking into your filing cabinets, trying to find all your data. It's all right there on Monarch Money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Now, looking into some Ducks news, not a whole lot going on. There was a report today from Frank Saravelli that the Anaheim Ducks and Mason McTavish's camp have agreed on term, but are extremely far off on the monetary amount. So, an update, but not really an update. It's hard for me to take what Frank reports as serious. I haven't really seen much from Elliot Friedman other than him saying the offer was kind of off. There's still some gap to work, but they are working towards each other. And that Pat Verbeek has been telling pretty much every team to pound sand that there are no trade offers right now. He is working diligently to get McTavish into this camp, but every single day is ticking away. That's more time that McTavish is missing and less time for him to get caught up to speed, but also more time that he needs to catch up on. So it's just a double-edged sword at this point with both teams going back and forth. I kind of understand now, like, where the player's looking at, because I was looking at it as, well, why don't they just go right in the middle with a 6 for 6? Because it sounded like McTavish was looking at a 7 to 8 year type contract and possibly a like $7 million range for the amount, whereas the Ducks offered a 5-year, $5.5 million AAV. So completely off there. But when it comes to the player perspective, I kind of tweeted this out, but if you listen to the newest Spit and Chicklets episode, they do kind of break down the Mason McTavish situation. And it's kind of nice to get that player perspective from guys who have been in those contract discussions and have been in the league, and they know how players are thinking and what they're talking about. And for McTavish's camp, they're looking at it as, well, I'm seeing the cap going up. We have belief in the player that McTavish is, and we want to have the higher amount in a longer term, so he can get that money and be competitive and not feel left out. He feels he's worth it and he's going to show up, and he's at a good spot to earn that money. And with the Ducks offering 5 at 5.5, they were saying, come back and offer, all right, I'll sign a year at, 4 mil, and then I'll just go make the bag elsewhere. Like, at that point, it's kind of like, well, I have belief in myself. If you don't, like, fine. But then they were kind of like, well, look at the management side, and you've got all these players coming up that are going to need to get signed with Jackson Lacombe, Cutter Goche, There's the Olin Zellweger deals coming up, Minchikov. There's Leo Carlson. There's all these young bucks coming up. They don't really want to find themselves in like a Maple Leafs core four situation. So that's kind of how Spit and Chicklets broke it down. And it's two camps that are going to go back and forth, and they're not going to budge on what they want. And it's just going to keep slowly grinding away until someone just says, all right, that's enough. Like, we need him in camp. Let's work this out. Let's get it signed and figure it out. So it sounds like McTavish will be an Anaheim Duck. But at what point is still up in the air, and I hope it doesn't go to December, but the way these two are and how stubborn they're being at this moment, it could be a very big possibility that we don't see McTavish until wintertime this year. So hold your breath. We're in for a ride, but continue to light up Twitter and continue to ask for the signing. The team needs him back now. He needs to be back with the team now for his own sake. It's just getting ridiculous. Bring this guy in. He's going to be a major centerpiece, no pun intended, for this team. So bring him in. It's time. All right. Moving on from the McTavish angriness or frustration. There is a new announcement today, because other than the McTavish dealings, there wasn't really much news from the team. They did have a day off, but they did announce that there's a new kind of behind the scenes series. Looks like possibly like a little team in-house documentary little series that they're making for this team, and it's going to be dropping on Thursday with part 1. It's going to be called Unmasked: Behind the Scenes of the Anaheim Ducks. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we get to see some good stuff. My buddy Dan Batson, who is part of the media creative team, was also a doc major with me, so I know what kind of talent he has when it comes to making some pieces. So if he is involved, expect some good stuff out there. I'm looking forward to it. And right now, like, just looking across the preseason and the league and how things are going, the Ducks right now are the highest scoring team in the preseason. They are the only team. Well, they were the only team to score 6 goals up until today. The Devils did score 6 goals in their preseason game tonight against the Islanders. However, they did allow 2 goals against. The Ducks only allowed 1. So they have the best goal differential out of the highest scoring teams so far. So looking pretty good. That's pretty nice to see. A lot of 5-2 games, 5-3, 5-4. A lot of teams hitting that 5-goal mark, but Anaheim the first to break past the 5-goal mark and to have a 5-goal differential compared to the Devils' 4-goal differential. So that is a good thing. We'll take the Ducks being the leaders in scoring any day. We will take it. It was great. Other news, though, Ducks tomorrow. That is Wednesday night. They are taking on the LA Kings at the Honda Center, so they're back at it. They'll have a morning skate. We'll hopefully get a preview of what lines they're looking to roll with at the game tomorrow night. I'm expecting it to be kind of similar to Monday with a decent amount of NHL regulars. We'll probably finally get a look at Trouba at home, get him a rep out there, possibly Trouba, Minchikov together out there tomorrow, maybe Trouba, Zellweger Gudis, because we've seen already Quinville making mid-game decisions and mixing lines up, and that was something we hadn't seen from Coach Cronin at all last year. I think it happened once during a game. So to get to see line changes occurring, however, we did see the Terry Vetrano-Strome line again. I talked about it during the preseason. They were together all season last year. They were the only ones to show up to the Joel Quinville press conference together. They are back at it again in the preseason. So the Vetrano, Terry, Strome, Papa, Unk, creation, I think Derek Lee called it. They are together. The Unk Nation, or I don't know, something. They're together. The dads, they're hanging out. So expect a lot of grilling out on the lawn with some cargo shorts and some white New Balances out there in Newport Beach or wherever these guys are living. So looking forward to some exciting times. Looking forward to some good Ducks hockey. So in the morning, we'll see what the lines look like and expect a fun one tomorrow at Honda Center against the LA Kings. And that's all I got for you today. Thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day. For your second listen, go find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Steel Roden and Flip Livingstone provide daily fantasy tips to give you the edge over your league mates, all while making you a smarter hockey fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.